Niklas Luhmann was an ordinary man and yet profoundly prolific. I mean, the dude wrote 58 books and hundreds of articles in the span of 30 years. If you're like me, you're thinking, how the heck did he do this? So today we're going to dive into this man's story and pull out 5 timeless PKM practices. Now, before we get started, I do want to give you a free gift today for hanging out with me on this video. This is my free guide on how to take book notes on physical books and get those into your PKM system. By the end of the guide, you'll have a simple system for highlighting books, a mindful approach to adding content to your second brain, a process for creating building blocks of knowledge for the future, and then finally, a simple tip for making more connections inside of your PKM system. The link to that guide is in the description below. Back in the 1960s, Luhmann was working on staff in an administration office. He could have been spending his days in the courtroom with his law degree, but he liked to keep to himself, so he chose to quietly serve the public. Now, he was fully aware that administration was not his calling. What he really got excited about every day was what happened after 5 p.m. Reading and his diverse interests in philosophy, organizational theory, and sociology. Now, here's where we find our first practice. Turn reading and following your interests into daily habits. The key here is daily. Okay, we can't expect to find gold that often if we're only digging once a month. Now, you may already have a daily reading habit, and that's great. It's awesome. But do you make time to follow your curiosity every day? Imagine what your days could look like if you set aside just 10 minutes a day to pursue something that lit you up. I've done a whole video on curiosity-driven note-taking. If you want to check that out, I will link it up for you. Okay, back to the story. Whenever he encountered something remarkable or had a thought, he made a note. What was his note-taking method? Writing in the margins of the book and then categorizing his ideas by topic. It sound familiar, right? Now, after collecting notes this way for a while, he realized that this was not taking him anywhere. It wasn't leading him anywhere. So he tried a different approach. And this is how it went. He made a note on a 3x5 note card. He put a number in the corner of that note card. And then he put all these cards into one box, aka the slip box. And this is where we find practice number 2. If it's not working, change your approach. I'm giving you permission to abandon the apps and the methods that are not working for you. There's no one size fits all with personal knowledge management. I'm speaking to myself too whenever I say this. Don't allow trendy or popular to determine your PKM system. Be open to trying something new. There's nothing that's permanent here, right? Experiment and find the PKM apps and methods that work for you. Okay, so with this new method that he found, he went from categorizing notes and existing topics to creating entirely new categories. And this was his realization. One note, one idea was only as valuable as its context, which was not necessarily in the context that it came from. And here we get to principle number 3. Allow your notes to form their own categories. I'm not against starting with the category and finding notes that fit inside of that bucket or the topic. But don't let that be the only way that you take notes. Reverse it and give your PKM some space to talk back to you, to give you some new topics. So one day he gathered some of his thoughts and he put it into a manuscript and he sent it off to one of the most influential sociologists. His name was Helmut Schelsky. I'm probably butchering that. He was a sociologist in Germany. All right, and this guy, he took his manuscript, Luhmann's manuscript, home that night, and he read through it. And he came back to him the next day and was like, hey, I think you should become a professor of sociology. And this is where we get to principle number 4. Share what you've been thinking about. There's a reason I didn't say share your work. I think if I say share your work, it may seem like it needs to be perfect, it needs to be polished, but I'm not talking about that here. I'm talking about sharing the things that are imperfect, that are not polished, that are not quite ready. Share as you are learning. Share what you're thinking about right now, not whenever it's polished and ready in 5 years. Share what you're thinking about now so you can get that feedback. You never know what door could open with one single note. I talked about this with the video titled The Power of a Single Note. I'll link that up for you to watch as well if you want to check it out. Okay, so Luhmann didn't have the qualifications to be even an assistant to a professor. So he had a choice: to be grateful for the suggestion and respectfully decline, or go after it despite not having the qualifications. Now, what did he do? He turned to his slip box. And within less than a year, he had all of the qualifications and was later offered a position as a professor of sociology. Which leads me to the fifth principle, and that is your PKM is a powerful partner to help you achieve bold goals. We learned from Luhmann that you can go back to your PKM when you don't know how to do something, when you are needing to learn something. You can use your PKM as a tool, as a partner to help you learn and grow in a skill that will accelerate your career. Luhmann was in this position as a professor for the rest of his life. He dedicated his life to this, and it all started with this note-taking approach with the Zettelkasten. Hey, I'd love to hear from you. Which one of these 5 principles resonated with you? Or maybe there was something inside of Luhmann's story that I shared that didn't pull out, that you thought was interesting. Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you next time.